If you're interested in bidding for public sector or government contracts, that is fantastic news. It's a great opportunity to really grow your business. So contracts can be long-term, high value, and it can add real stability to your business. So you're not just surviving, you're actually thriving. You've got a foundation to build upon. How would your business benefit from having a long-term, high-value contract with a really secure client such as the NHS or a housing association or your local council? That can be a great foundation for really taking your business to the next level. So if you're thinking of doing that and thinking that that's a really great way of growing your business, we've got some pointers to help you get started on your journey. When putting together a winning bid, there's some really key fundamentals which you can work to, which will be a great guide to help you get started. So these points that I'll go through over the next few minutes, I'll set the key foundations of how you can put together a successful tender submission. The first thing is know your deadlines. It sounds really stupid, but the tender process is restricted. Typically, you get about 4 weeks between contract opportunity being released to being submitted. And knowing your deadlines is so important because there's quite a usually significant piece of work to be done in that time period. Work backwards from the deadline. The deadline's in 4 weeks. You don't want to be submitting 1 minute to the deadline because that's just a recipe for stress and a recipe for a really poor quality submission. Work backwards. You want to submit it half a week before the deadline. Set that as your own internal deadline. Have a look at when the clarification response time ends. There's a set period where you can't ask any more questions. So you've got to get your questions in early. If you need any clarification about the pricing or the delivery or the specification, ask them as soon as you can. If you leave them to the last week and you start asking questions, chances are you'll have missed that clarification period. So working from that internal deadline of submission, when do you actually need to get together with certain experts across the business? When do you need to engage suppliers to get prices for putting together the actual delivery plan? When do you need to work with people in your team to review the submission and make sure it's real high quality and represents what you do? So build that plan, even if it's just high level, a couple of dates in the diary to make sure people are available. Do that as early as you can to make sure you're preparing yourself for success. The next factor to consider is assessing and digesting the detail of the opportunity. Is it something you can deliver? Are you capable of delivering? Does the specification match with your key skills and capabilities in the business? Is it something you can do? Is it something you want to do? Read the questions, read the specification, make sure that you are a good match for the opportunity, not just the opportunity, a good match for you. You need to be right in terms of your skills, experience, capabilities, your team in place to deliver. You can always recruit a team, but can you actually recruit a team in time to deliver this contract? Have you got the finances to employ the team in advance of delivering the contract? So there's some key things to think about there, just to make sure that you're ready and make sure that you're not wasting your time on an opportunity. The third point to consider is doing your research. Research and understanding the contract and the local context and the local area is so important. Most organizations who are bidding for contracts are very familiar with the area. So if the contract is to provide a service or a product, you will typically know the local landscape, you will know things around the local infrastructure, the road systems, the way that people think and the way that people want service to be delivered. You might even know about some local political issues which might play into and be factored into the contract opportunity. If you can address what you need to deliver, but show a local understanding, that can really set you apart. So do your research. Look at the previous contract holder, if it's a renewal of a contract. Has there been anything in the press about them, positive or negative? Do the questions that have been asked indicate that the current provider is doing a good job or bad job? Such as, is there a consistent message in the questions? Are they saying, how will you deliver the contract and report performance? How will you manage health and safety and report performance? If that reporting performance is coming up again and again, perhaps the existing provider wasn't reporting particularly well. Have a look at the breakdown of the scores. Is the weighting of the scores heavily on quality or heavily on price? That tells you that either the existing provider is doing a good job and they just want a better price, or maybe the existing provider isn't actually giving that good value for money and they're looking for something a bit higher quality. But there's some research that can be done that can really help you to stand out in that tender submission. The fourth thing to consider is ABC. Be accurate, brief, and concise. So read the questions, Answer the questions accurately, briefly, and concisely. That's really important in a tender submission. Imagine you're on the other end reading these tender submissions and you receive 20, 10, maybe even 5 tender submissions, and you've got to sit there and read it. They don't want to read a load of waffle. They want to read something that's accurate, brief, and concise. It's to the point. It's answering exactly what they're asking. They're asking a specific question. How will you deliver the contract? Yes, we'll deliver the contract. This is how we'll deliver the contract. And we know we can because this is what we've done previously. Really make sure that you are accurate, brief, and concise. They don't want to know about anything else other than what they're asking you. There's a clear marking criteria, clear questions, and a clear specification. There'll be all kinds of things that you want to tell them, but if it's not there in the marking criteria, you're not going to score a point for it. You're wasting your time. Answer the questions accurately, briefly, and concisely. The 5th thing to consider is proofread. Proofread and proofread. It's really important that you come across well in your submission. It's true that you're not going to win or lose marks based on grammar, based on spelling, based on the odd full stop here and there. But if you're providing someone with a document that they're going to read, they're going to make an opinion and judge your organization based on that submission. When we say proofread, the key thing is making it really easy to read, really eligible. If you handed this to the average person on the street, would they understand it? Does it flow? Are they short, concise sentences? Do you try and use really flowery language that no one's going to understand? The last thing the marker wants to do is dig out a dictionary to understand what the hell you're on about. They want to read it, understand it, and mark it as quickly and simply as they possibly can. So don't worry about being a novelist. Don't worry about being the best writer in the world. Just worry about it being readable to the average person on the street. Avoid acronyms, avoid using words that are industry specific. The first person that reads this submission will typically be an administration person within the procurement team. They'll probably give it the first read over before it goes to someone who has more sector knowledge and expertise. So you need to consider that you're giving this to someone who isn't necessarily an expert in your sector. They need to read it and go, oh, acronym. Oh, but they've explained what that acronym is. They can't then go away and Google that, because if it's not in the submission, you can't score a point for it. They can't then go and look elsewhere for clarification on what you've been writing. So try and make it so it's really easy to read. I used to call it the mum test. If I give this contract opportunity to my mum about asbestos removal, she might not find it the most interesting thing in the world, but could she read it as someone who has no experience in that sector and understand it from start to finish? So that's what you need to think about when it comes to proofreading. So we hope those pointers have been really useful. If there's anything that you want to ask a little bit more about, just get in touch with the team. We're available on live chat on our website. You can email us, you can call us, and we'll be happy to clarify any of those points or even to add some more detail. So don't be afraid to get in touch. That's what we're here for. We're all about supporting great businesses like your business to find and win public sector contracts to add stability and growth to your business.